Welcome to conversation with Professor Chandan Mahanta from IIT Guwahati. And he is a genuine also, and it has been my privilege that he has been my mentor and teacher as well. So let's know about his passion, his profession, and his personal life. Welcome to our program, sir. This is really nice that with a short notice, as usual, you always being there, and that's what mentorship is all about. And today you have to play the role of an. You just tell the story, because nowadays our students or the generation is such that we just need to tell what is the data, and they draw inference from that. That is under that motivation, under that idea, we thought that to have insight in the journey of the scholar. So in the first part, I would like to ask you to little bit summarize your journey in briefly, and then we would specifically ask you the question: how did you select your stream or subject, and so on and so forth.
Thank you, Dr. Manish. It's an honor and privilege, of course. I think it's a great initiative that you have taken up to talk to some of us. I must tell you, I did accept your invitation just for the interest of having a usual conversation with you, which we had in the past many times, and it had yielded very, very useful thoughts and ideas. As you rightly said, a story, everybody has a life story, and there are so many interesting nuances that shapes a person. But I'll try to pick up a few key points. But I must admit here, or rather share with you, that every individual, even professionally also, are shaped by his upbringing, his surrounding. Besides his school and colleges and institutions he go into, particularly a scientist or a person with a science bent of mind picks up a lot of things from his surrounding. So his education is actually a much more all-encompassing than simply the scholastic education in the institution, which happened to me also. You'll be surprised, or rather amused, to know that I studied in a small kind of a town school in vernacular medium in Assam, in my hometown, Bongaigaon, which is today a refinery city. But when I was a child, it was a very small town. And in my batch, when I was in the 8th standard, they introduced a new subject called advanced science, advanced maths and advanced science. Before that, it was simply maths and science. Well, I must say I didn't have much idea about what science and arts is all about, because we used to study geography, history, everything with equal passion and interest. But I did pick up advanced science because it was a new subject, and I thought that science is something very exciting. So besides general science and general maths, I took advanced science and advanced maths. And well, I enjoyed both, I must say. But because it was introduced newly, our practicals of advanced science, so it was like out of 150 marks were for practical, 50 for theory. The theory went off in the board exam, and then we went to another school in another town to do the practical or the lab exam together, and there somehow I really couldn't relate to the practical exam. And I was later on, I was regretful in a way, because I just marginally passed in the practical, because maybe the teacher sort of, sympathetically passed me. Whatever went wrong, I don't know. There was equal, the same thing that we did later on in the college in biology, like you had to cut the digestive system or toad and all those things. I did, but something went wrong in the viva. So my first stint with science was really a bit challenging, I must say. I didn't live with a good experience, and that should have deterred me from taking up science, because my first experience of advanced science was a little disappointing. But then, as it happened, the curiosity, as I maintain that for not only for a science stream student, but for any student, I think the most important part about knowledge seeking is curiosity, and that curiosity should be a infinite curiosity on a day-to-day basis. Every day should be starting with a curiosity that how this day is unfolding about, so that's how it went. And what happened was, in my board exam, I scored very well. In my arts and humanities subject, I got the highest mark in English literature throughout the state, So some of my teachers who had been following me, they said, no, you are cut out for arts, so you better go for arts. You are a good literary person, and,
Mhm.
and as it happened, you may recall your time also, our guardians were all about, no, 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 you are a good student, means you should go for science.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was, of course, confused as a student. My teachers were telling something. Maybe they could read my artistic pursuit. Of course, I had a good knack
Yeah, I
about
mean,
art,
we are,
culture, language, and everything, and which today also I pursue parallelly. I read almost, being an Assamese, I read all Assamese literature. Then it got exhausted in my school days. Then I read all Bengali literature because that was available. Then I read all Hindi literature.
yeah, I mean, this
They
is
all
a
enriched
good,
me.
yeah, I can draw something is that from your perspective, because I also grown in a very small town, and there was a flood every year. And during
Mm,
flood time was my reading time. I used to take
mm,
all the library book and read Hindi story and those
mm,
things. And
mm.
the English, I must say that your command on language and the style has been fascinating. It is not only my personal opinion. I have been receiving such feedback. And
So these
somewhere,
things comes along. You're right. I mean, so what happened was, eventually, just to cut a long story short, I did pursue science in my higher secondary, physics, chemistry, maths, and we had some very good maths teachers in my college called Cotton College, which was established in 1901. So it's already a century-old college, one of the most eminent colleges in the country. And then, as usual, we appeared for our engineering test and all that. And but somehow, during that time, there was not much of a distinction about what really you pursue. So what happened was that the engineering test used to happen a little late. So I took admission in BSc with physics honors and maths. And interestingly, I also didn't take chemistry. I didn't like chemistry. I took geology as one of the subjects. So that was a pass course subject.
Mhm.
So then what happened? The engineering test results came, and kind of I got into civil engineering a little towards the lower part of the list. But by that time, because I continued in Cotton College, and already teachers, everything started familiar, and by some of my own wisdom, I didn't feel like leaving, so I stayed on. I stayed on with science, and I actually completed BSc. But what happened in between, and again, very interesting thing happened, that I got motivated by some of the geology professors, and I shifted my honors to geology at that time.
Wow.
So finally, I got first class first rank in geology in the university, and so automatically it made it happen that I came to Delhi University and started my MS. So I completed my masters. Again, a very fascinating journey. Some of the most eminent teachers, and the Delhi University ambience, I must say, was a very energetic and all that. So that happened, and again, I mean, although you sometime are destined about your career, maybe almost like an accident, I filled up the form for JNU on the last date, and I can tell you the story sometime. I didn't think of applying. There was an application lying in my roommate's table, and I just saw it on the last that day. And then I inquired that what about this, because at that time we were not knowing where to go, what to do, kind of a thing. Yeah, so I applied, and then there was the written test and the interview. The interview, you may recall some of our past teachers in JNU, Professor Rajamani, Professor
Rajamani,
Subramaniam,
yeah,
they
Subramaniam.
were very eminent. And in the interview, again, you can call it a freak of destiny that, after the masters, I was a little weak in crystallography, and I was a little fascinated that this is a very different kind of area. So I was reading crystallography during that intermittent time after masters and in between. And Professor Rajamani, almost the entire interview asked questions on crystallography only. And while many of my other friends during that interview said that they found it very tough because of all the crystallography question, it was very comfortable for me. So the interview turned out to be very well. And as you all know, crystallography is a very tough subject. So probably at that time, Professor Subramaniam was there in the interview. And many of you know that he worked on the rivers of India. And probably for him, the only river left was the Brahmaputra, because he by that time covered all the rivers. So
Yeah,
he kind of asked a couple of questions. And later on, I got to know that he kind of selected me to work on Brahmaputra. Till that time, well, although I grew up in the bank of this big river, this whole complex river, I didn't know the scientific challenge of this river. When he told me to work on the sediment
so.
transport of that river,
So
um,
actually, that is the my next question. Of course, I
yes,
know that you can go for monologue also because
yes,
you
yes.
are that kind of passionate person. I wanted to just cite two three things. Is that one that you said that initially it was a bad thing, like in practical you have not got much mark, but I think the major love stories just start like that. Initially you never know that we are go along even few steps, and then we share the life and life after in
True,
Hindu mythology.
true, true.
So your love story perhaps begin with that note, that strong note where it starts with conflict and then it emerges along. I also say that the it's although this may be a little bit non-diplomatic, or but I'm fine. I mean, one thing that you have told me other day, that if you will interview me now and if you will interview me after 5 years, I may have the different perspective. That is,
Mm,
so whatever I am saying as of now, it has nothing to my mind can change. But
mm,
I say to my student that look, technology is a kind of kid who has engineering, or the engineering and technology is a kid who has the father of as a science, and philosophy is a grandfather, or the
mhm,
arts or music are the grandfather. From their ideas come, and science becomes converted into engineering and technology. So geology and being doing the graduation in science was a perfect, I think, choice, and that is what led you to pass the test of that great Rajamani and Subramaniam, because we have been taught. I had a privilege that they also taught me. So,
mm.
which year did you enter the JNU? Do you
Oh,
recall?
okay. That was 1988. 88 I
19.
joined, and
Okay.
I completed my MPhil in 2 years. As you know, that time it was a combined
Yeah, yeah.
MPhil
It
PhD
was
program. You have
combined.
to go through the MPhil.
Mm.
90, and then by 94 I completed my PhD, but I got my PhD in 95. So I
Oh, okay,
can
okay.
just say that, I mean, as we all know, PhD absolutely is a life-changing experience. Although many people go through a lot of, turmoils, difficulties, but once you get it over, you realize that by that
Yeah, it's
time
one of the
you
best
are
thing that can
totally
happen to one mind.
transformed. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
people who does a passionate PhD, I think life is so different for them. And not to forget that by that time I got introduced to a very um unendingly exciting area of, river studies, if I can call it,
Hmm.
morphology, hydrology, chemistry of it, physics of it, everything. Because when you study a river, you don't study only physics of river or chemistry of river. You study almost everything because it's all connected. So I
Yeah.
would call, when you do a research on a river, even today, after decades of my engagement on this area of studies, hydrology or otherwise, I still feel that so fascinatingly, so much unknown remains, in terms of solving problem, in terms of even today, I feel that I have not even, or with scores of my students, we have not really succeeded in even understanding the river. Forget about doing anything about its problem and solution. So that was I think a lifelong
So,
kind of
so here
lesson
is
given.
that I mean, so research topic, research guide. Of course, many times it's a kind of arranged marriage. Of course, in those period, of course, we knew that this institute will apply, and I also correlate this JNU form, exact JNU form. I didn't buy. Somebody told me that he invested 110 rupees. I remember that. See, I don't know. My 110 rupees has been wasted. I told, and he was little bit economically weak. So I told, okay, I will pay you. Give me the form. So that way, all the journey has started. And had I not
Right,
been
right.
at JNU, maybe I was not had a privilege to talk with you.
True, true.
But as far as the PhD topic is concerned, of course, today you are telling me that. So whether the love for the rivers and those things were already with you, and here little bit, I would like to have uh, that. Okay, that how much problem was given to you from your supervisor, how much you added to it, and how it came out. Yeah, so little bit about that PhD, the 4 years, 5 years, 3 years, as the time that you recall.
Hmm. You see, I mean, when you start a PhD and you have a supervisor, so you really look up to him
Yes, yes,
in
sure.
true sense, to guide you. So, as I said already, almost post interview, I realized that I'll be working in this big complex river system. But beyond that, I didn't have any idea what I'm going to do. But if you know the JNU model, all these professors have their own laboratories and own group of students. So I also have plenty of seniors, and there are Dr. Vaidyanathan, Dr. Chakrapani, and Dr. Mohan. So there are many, and they were all very very good seniors. And as I told you, that at least in my case already. Um, Others were working on other rivers. So I started following during my coursework what are the things they have been doing. And also, if you know by the model, I think JNU is a base school to learn from a group of people, seniors included. The kind of sampling, the kind of analysis, the kind of field work they used to do. So it's like a composite culture that we used to help out our seniors to work on. So slowly we got exposed to many of the aspects of research that they have been doing. I mean, the river part remaining same. Whereas somebody was working on sediment, somebody on water, somebody on chemistry, somebody on physical transport. Um, so it started working on me, and then I think during my MPhil itself, I took a long journey, hiring a car from one end to the other, and started sampling, and that started giving that was the first time we perhaps did such a rigorous comprehensive sampling for Brahmaputra from almost to the border of China. I took two of my college friends with, and so we brought along a lot of water samples, sediment sample, and also meanwhile, I consulted the government water resource department and others for their past records, data. Everything came to me, and then it all started helping to formulate a problem along with my supervisor. And
Yeah.
we thought that because Brahmaputra was the second highest sediment carrying river after the Yellow River. More than water, probably, looking into the sediment will be a very interesting work. So I would say it unfolded,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then
And
as it unfolded, I got more and more fascinated because
mhm.
everything was first time, everything was new, and
Yeah,
we have a very good analytical lab. So I just had to
yeah,
prepare my sample and put into X-ray diffractometer, put into a atomic absorption, and lot of interesting data started coming out. I could correlate them, and it started making
yeah,
sense.
yeah. So
So I got into that journey.
yeah, I think this is very right. Here, the way you explained sampling, I would say that this is a kind of dating. I mean, or this is a kind of engagement and that and marriage. That period of the
Yeah,
time
some guidance,
of
but a lot of freedom also, which I
lot
do
of
to my own students. Right now, my immediate PhD student Abhishek Dixit is doing a similar work of material transfer from the Himalayas to the coastal part, and of course we are utilizing much more advanced technique. And part of this work, he will soon go to Germany to work in a laboratory to do some advanced work.
and
So it continues. Yeah.
And like you said, two aspects that I wanted to highlight here. Of course, deducing from your whatever you have told now. One is that this sampling period, and that is I want to put it out there for my audience, is that this the when we go for sampling in for a field environmentalist or field scientist, this sampling period is certainly a engagement to marriage period, because until then we do not perhaps submit our the synopsis. But yes, and the more we do the sampling, the more we fall for it, and the more we understand the problem, and that changes us as a from a or that making us becoming a field scientist. But the second thing is I wanted to say that as you know that my somehow I also started my faculty career from Assam, and for PhD. I mean, just like that, this river can produce how much I don't know, but this for PhD produced like nothing, because I was thinking that okay, the as a field scientist, I want to work nearby. I don't want to be here and the work on Alaska, but yeah, and this river has given me so many problems that and still you just now we published Brahmaputra River in cleaner production, the Journal of Cleaner Production, which is a kind of where we have just shown that how maybe tea industry is effluent or the other effluents, how it is changing the metal speciation and toxicity along the river. And because of this sediment and water interaction, it becomes very, very critical. And I can tell you that we have not even investigated 10% of the process that is either happening there. So still it is very nice, and still I would say that those people who are based in IIT Guwahati or have such kind of facility and working in the Northeast there is have a lab. If you are a true environmentalist, you can find lot of problem of cutting edge can be done there. Then and I mean in that forest, in that river, in that agricultural field, you can do that. That I felt. What do you think on that? You're something.
As you know, I mean, once you get into academic research career, you start diversifying into more areas. For example, I was mostly working on surface water during my own PhD, but then as I started having my other PhD student, I got into the groundwater, and then the groundwater sampling is entirely a different exercise,
Mm.
and we started looking. So we all know when you look at hydrological system, be it surface water or groundwater, from an environmental perspective, first thing we started looking at the physics of it, how, for example, sediment is transported, how they settle down, and what sort of other processes work on them, the advection, diffusion, dispersion, all those things you start studying. Then comes the chemistry of it. So you start, digesting them, analyzing them chemically, and start characterizing them. Also comes biology. And as you rightly said, then, slowly you get into more into environmental technologies of treatment, of removal of some of this toxic metal, of drinking water, of wastewater. And so as of today, if you ask me after decades of my PhD, now I am no longer on Brahmaputra suspended sediment alone. There are so many other things have happened. And you still, of course, start looking for or continue looking for the connections. Today, a whole lot of studies going on in the coupling of groundwater, surface water, how this water infiltrates at the Himalayan foothill, how they sometimes go to deeper groundwater surface only in Bangladesh. And then you start looking at this big systemic part of it. So it has diversified, and today I have students working on drinking water, on wastewater, on transport, on everything. I mean, including what you said, maybe cleaner technologies, green technologies, and some of the treatment methodologies, indigenous materials. So it diversifies, and then still you don't lose sight of the whole, but you start looking at solving problems. I guess one of the problems today, I must say, Manish, is that you are lucky, as you know, to get equally passionate PhD student, because a lot of PhD students today stray into PhD. They don't come by their intention. They think that if nothing else, let me do a PhD, because at least for 5 years I'm secured with a fellowship and I'll finally come
Yeah,
up with a
very true,
thesis.
very true.
So that the seeking knowledge, curiosity, and the
Mm-hmm.
passion is sometimes missing. Then you
Yeah,
have a problem in hand. Then every moment as a supervisor you have to keep defining. Then perhaps you are not giving the kind of freedom to the right person. He or she may sit down for 6 months and come up with very low productivity, and you are kind of wondering that, oh, he is in a mess now, how to get him out. That's a
yes,
very
yes, yes.
detrimental thing for a PhD. It becomes a burden or a trouble for all. I mean, the students also start thinking, where am I? I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
enjoying
very
it
true, very
anymore.
true.
So as you rightly said, it's a very important thing to have a matching interest and a matching kind of a knowledge seeking or knowledge pursuit exercise. If it happens, well, in India we have constraints of some infrastructure. Also, sometimes what I want to do is constrained by not availability of a particular instrument or advanced equipment as well. So you sometimes have to customize your work,
Yeah, yeah,
to the tune of what is available. So those are there, but still one can do a very good piece of work within a right frame of time, provided I would say that you get a kick out of it, you get a passion,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that curiosity factor is very important. Also, probably I'll add that intention to solve, at least if not a whole problem, but a part of a problem. A solution seeking PhD is always better than a diagnostic PhD. Somewhere it
Wow.
ends halfway. If you do just analyze and you identify, okay, there is an environmental problem needs to be attended to, but you are not really part of that attendance or the solution. I would say, being in an IIT, you are also at Gandhinagar. The whole idea is about, taking the last mile to at least design of a solution, if not the solution itself.
Yeah, I mean, in this context, I felt it is very right to ask you that give me some the at least one most or the painful moment during your PhD that or some I mean you felt, oh, I mean, and or we can say the negative, and the one of the very enthusiastic moment in during your PhD, and as a PhD supervisor also. That how do you think that, of course you already very nicely put it out that what is the difference between I and you already also have told that we didn't choose or become a PhD student by our choice, but once we happened there we just loved our work, and that should be
True.
the love and passion has to be there. So but and what is the missing and those things is there, but as a PhD supervisor, what did you observe as a PhD student? How do you what you observed, and what is the a kind of insight between the two, being a PhD student and being a PhD supervisor?
Mm-hmm. No, but as I said, it's always thrilling to get a PhD student whom when you look at, you realize, oh, he is a better PhD student than what I used to,
Wow.
So
Yeah.
he
Good answer.
delivers little different. So he surpasses you. So there are a lot of very interesting moments. Like I did the clay mineralogy of the Brahmaputra sediment, and I realized, including some of the a few past authors, that there are very little montmorillonite or smectite into the clay mineralogy of Brahmaputra sediment. And then when even after so many years, my PhD student come up and shows me the result, and he shows the same trend. You feel that, okay, I'm indicated that we did the right thing even at that point of time when maybe the advancement of equipment, etc., were not so good. And the other thing is that, as you do a lot of diagnostic study in the, say, medical science and imaging and all that, and then they said that this needs to be clinically correlated. So I think that clinical correlation in research is very, very interesting. So we do scanning electron microscopy. We do all range of kind of imaging to other analytical thing. And finally, when there is a interesting agreement between all, and you converge into a kind of a conclusion, that becomes very interesting. And I would also add here the scale part of it. Sometimes you do certain analytical engagement in a very, very micro level, and then you are also having a very macro picture today with remote sensing and other tools. Like right now, we are looking at the glaciers in the eastern Himalayas, and we found that by these RCP scenarios, by 2100, some of the glaciers are showing kind of 99% depletion. Basically, they are going to vanish. Now you start worrying that is it really so, because these are like very profound kind of findings, and you also depend on extending some of the existing model and then build your model on that. So you go back and start looking at the premises on which these models are built, whether you are building a tall building on a weak foundation, that your projections can go wrong, and then you as a scientist you actually fail. So there comes the role of my multiple students. So I divide some of this work into different people, and they come together with their own finding. We sit together and see that how it is making sense. So this is something I think fascinating, that you look at maybe sometime a whole of a problem and divide into couple of very critical aspects and give it to different people to go more deeper into it, come back and see that finally also the whole is making a sense. I'm not say that this is the entire thing I would like to tell you, but I just have given you an example
Yeah.
how, as a supervisor, you
Hmm.
feel very happy about that. Okay, maybe this set of or subset of problems I devise for my individual students eventually makes sense, because they are seeing each other in terms of the correlation of their work, and eventually they become part of a whole solution.
Yeah, I mean, just one thing is remaining is that everybody has a sweet and sour memories, and this relationship while doing PhD. Do you have any sweet and sour moment? If you may share a little bit, that because yeah, it must be there, I guess.
Manish, you will agree perhaps that, even if you have sour moments also, when you go ahead in time and look back, everything looks sweet. No sour memories remain, even because they are all learning lessons. Even if you have a difficult time, a bad experience, sometime, yes, one or two experience can leave a very long imprint in your mind that, this should not have happened. Something very tragic, something of a maybe a big betrayal, or something that you really lost faith in humanity kind of a experience. But other than that, if you look at, for example, a bad argument with your supervisor, or he pulling you up for maybe not being steadfast in your work, at that moment perhaps you had lot of pain. But when you go ahead in life and look back and play the role of your supervisor by that time, you realize that all memories become very, very good memories. There is nothing in terms of being complaining about or regretting about, because then everything start falling in place. You start realizing that unless that would have happened, I would not have been like this. So
Actually,
I would not even like to recall any sour memories right now. I think
actually,
all are good memories. Yes.
actually, I had the why I asked or is that because we have passed. I always say that if I have to choose a tense, which never makes you tense, is a past tense, because
Mm,
this past tense, even if it is worst, you feel wow, I passed it.
mm.
Or if it
That
is,
I
I
handled
mean,
it. Mm,
yeah, life threatening. No. So anything among the tense that doesn't make us tense is a past tense. So I, uh, I even wrote a paper, a poem on Atit. And
mm,
so, but those people who is passing that phase, still, maybe they may have some troubleshooting the weapon to their armor, and they may
mm,
recall, oh, Professor Mahanta had this PhD threatening the challenge, but he overcome that. Of course, you have actually you have very smartly enlisted all the problems. In fact, you have talked
mm.
about human betrayal. You have talked about the or everything that the kind of problem is there or may be there. But this question is for those people who is still going through that and feel like, oh, and you know that there are a lot of suicides and happening during the PhD time, and a lot of
Mm.
mental breakdown and those things.
Correct.
So that is
Correct.
why I wanted to, even if because we both have passed that milestone. So for us, it is a memorable time. But I cannot forget that I did cry during my the PhD, and
True,
I was in
true.
Japan and married. So
Right.
similarly, if there is any such.
I agree. If you ask me to list sweet memories, I think the list will be endless. Uh, as you know, most of our contemporaries and seniors, we had a lot of back and forth journey abroad, conferences, and short time winter school, summer school. So I recall those memories again. Interestingly, like every time a senior comes back, he comes back with all the goodies, chocolates and some sample of beers or some drinks. And so we really used to anticipate, okay, like Professor Chakrapani, IIT Roorkee, he was a immediate senior and he went to say Smithsonian and other places. So Chakrapani came back with, and he was very caring for the juniors. So he would bring a lot of gifts and all. And we anticipate that when he will return, and not only the stories, but also all these gifts and all. Other than that, you know very well that JNU is such a checkered life inside and outside the lab. There's so much of drama about everything. So, and when you start relate to not only your lab mates, but your hostel mates and other people that it was a fascinating thing. And on that count, definitely there were failures, there were setbacks, sometimes at a friendship level also. Um, uh, well, I'll not really specify, but
Yeah, yeah.
obviously we all have
It's
share of it. But I must tell you, Manish, by and large, maybe by our own nature, I had very little, I mean, small amount of those negative memories, so to say. Somehow, maybe it was a
mm,
coping capacity or
it-
a sort of acceptance that life is a mixed bag and you have to carry on. But I do owe a lot to my batchmates, to my seniors, that whenever there were difficulties and trauma, fortunately, I didn't have any medical issue during that time, and whatever little we had, our university dispensary, those doctors were very very helpful. And besides that, um, you know, I think all generally good memories, but yes,
yeah.
there
So
were.
actually, you have.
Hmm. Yeah, Manish.
So I mean, yeah, you have what I wanted to know and put it across. That you said that life is a mixed bag, and that has to be accepted. And if that we
Hmm.
accept, the journey will be thorough. Uh, so that is fine for now. Of course, I may ask you again little bit final message for PhD students, but right now I just want to finish your the journey part and go to the part B. So the part A has, this is the last question of that how has been your transition to that after PhD to final position, or how has been your journey till from there to now in very briefly?
After doing a PhD, becoming a PhD supervisor itself to lead a group of students, I think nothing could be a better career than that. Being a teacher or a professor yourself is one of the greatest thing that can happen as a career. Partly because you have a opportunity to continue your seeking knowledge exercise, or rather, many of them, a PhD is not the end of everything. You are actually, by the time you submit your PhD, you're left with more future scope of work than what you have done. So when you become a professor, you have a second chance to attend all those future scope of work in a manner. And also, you start reflecting that every time you become a teacher, you remember, okay, my ex teacher used to do like this, my Y teacher used to do like that. So, or somewhere you feel that I felt a little annoyed by this particular teacher because of this particular trait, and probably I should not land up doing that to my own students. So you become a more refined human being also. It's like almost like parenting, that you have gone through your childhood and growing up with your parents, then you become a parent and you have your children. I think for a professor it is almost a similar kind of a experience, that you groom a set of new younger generation, which you kind of feel that, okay, I'll not make them make the same mistake that I did. So you always give better of yourself. You always do better of yourself, and also many of the things that you could not find answer to, you have a second chance to ask your students to go pursuing that, and he may come back with, probably, as I said, a more exciting outcome than even what you would have anticipated. So the rewards of being a professor is, I think, unmeasurable. I mean, immeasurable, because uh, nothing could have been a better career than maybe a professor or a teacher. And I keep realizing it again and again at many levels, that today, if I happen to go anywhere in the world, particularly being in an IIT, I just have to kind of announce it to one or two of my students around that area, whether it's California or Japan, you know better, or anywhere,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you have a score of people readily kind of waiting for you to take you
Yeah,
around and
yeah, yeah.
receive you and come back and
So
meet and catching up with their children.
actually, what I wanted to know is that the because insecurity builds in us when we are in the last year. We have the pressure of the submission also and passing those barriers. At the same time, we also start thinking what next. And that time, if what you remember specifically, that how you went through that phase, whether you didn't care at all, that okay, I will see what happens, because that has happened to in my case when
Okay.
mainly what happened is that I was married and I was in Japan, but I was not thinking. I didn't allow my mind to think what will happen after my PhD.
Mhm.
Because I want to focus right and 100% then and there on my PhD. That's all. But the many times the meticulous planning is necessary. So in that case, how was your that moment from the time when you think about the job, and then whether you did some postdoc and then you fall in the best job in the, I think, world that you already described?
Mhm. No, I agree. I agree that uh, the most logical thing for a professor or a supervisor is to see off his student after PhD with a job. Ending a PhD without an immediate future career, be it a postdoc or be it a teaching position or whatever, is a little kind of disappointing. You are, as a supervisor, you feel that I'm leaving this student a little uncared for. I'm just talking about currently. Well, if you go back in my time, fortunately, I already had a job even before ending my PhD, not the IIT job, but some other transit job. It was equally exciting. So,
what
you
was
know,
that? What was that? What was that?
I
We want to
actually,
know.
that time next to the JNU campus was I mean, still it is there, the Nuclear Science Center.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
the Nuclear Science Center used to house a small office called CEC, Consortium for Educational Communication. And they used to make, video lectures for UGC countrywide classroom. And that
Mhm.
time they were making packages for different subjects. So while I was still kind of submitting my PhD, I got a job as a program officer there. It was Mr. Kiran Karnik, who are later on became the president of NASCOM, and he was with the Discovery Channel. So I learned a lot during my stint with Mr. Karnik. And well, it lasted only about, I think, a year or so. By the time I got my job into IIT Guwahati and I came over, but I must say that it was a good relief that my fellowship was ending and I got a job. I think for every PhD student, it becomes a little bit of a concern that what after this, unless you already got a good postdoc offer from a best laboratory. As you know, in most of our cases, it happened. All my seniors went for postdocs. My contemporaries also got some job. So when I got a job, I went to my supervisor. I said that others are all going for postdoc in the US. So what do you think? And he said that a job is a job. So maybe you better join. You can always think of taking a break and go for a postdoc later on. So for me, it was a smooth transition, I would say. I just left the marriage scholar hostel at Mahanadi and I went for hired accommodation and stayed with my. By that time, I already also had my marriage and my daughter was born.
When
So,
so
so
which year you married? I mean, when you were which year?
I got married in 1992, but
Okay.
I got my
So 2 years
PhD in
before you
95.
submit your thesis.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so we lived in the marriage scholar quarter
Hmm.
for a while, and that was one of the most beautiful thing again because being in a university campus and also
Yeah, yeah.
supported by my
It's
wife
like
and
a
my
life of assistant professor, I can say. I
yeah,
know
yeah.
Mahanadi.
So
I
so
know them.
so that was another very beautiful part that in JNU I also had a and then my
So
wife happened to be from JNU only, so it was a wonderful thing for me. Yes.
so this is very again similarity, and today you sometimes made me the feel that I really started a good thing because so you also become father before becoming doctor, right?
True, yes. Yeah. Yeah, she was
Okay, and
born in Ram Manohar Lohia Hospital. I had just had a scooter that time in the month of November in winter. I had to go, at the night, driving a scooter in
who
that cold. You can realize that. But as a PhD is exciting, similarly, a parenthood was also a very exciting thing to happen.
so
Well,
who
my
says father forgets the date
my
and time?
as it happened, my supervisor, I'll not say he was unhappy, but he definitely said that probably Chandan, you should have completed your PhD before getting married. But then later on, I think when he came for the first birthday of my daughter, he also blessed all of us. And you think of it, you are celebrating the birthday of your first child, and all your lab mates and your junior and seniors were there to be with you. I think it was a really a rewarding time. Yes, yes.
Actually, again, I I mean, share this similarity. I think I mean, mostly people get married during the PhD, I guess.
True. It's
And
kind.
as a supervisor, we don't want it to happen. That is also very true, and especially if
That's
it is a
true. That's
a
more of a
lady.
concern that the responsibilities of family may divert you from your PhD, and you may have to share a lot of time, which will be kind of taken out of your PhD. As a supervisor, you are concerned that he should complete his PhD soon and go for a regular career. So it's out of that kind of a parental concern only not that they intend any bad of you. So I did
So I
realize
mean,
later on that, yes.
we both are someone who married before getting graduated. What is your advice? Is it fine to marry within the PhD or after PhD or after submission, even
Yeah,
if the award
see
is not taken?
now again, and as a guide of PhD, we have a lot of what is called the QIP students in IIT, which are mostly teachers of engineering colleges,
Yeah, yeah.
taking a break and coming and completing their PhD because they perhaps ended their studies with an MTech, and but they need a PhD now for their career progression. Now that's another kind of PhD which they are coming after maybe serving as assistant professor for 5 years, 10 years like that. So I would say
Mm.
that's a good idea because it also is a good rejuvenation to take a break from your routine job and come back and do a PhD. Although it at times become a bit challenging. The other thing is that doing I mean, getting married during the PhD, I would say it's consequential actually, pros and cons. Because if you get a wife and she is academically sound to kind of proofread your thesis or help out somewhere, if she's from your same lab, nothing like it. But even if it is not, so those things sometimes matter. But yes, I have also seen that people getting too bogged down by marital commitments and later on, getting a little wavered from their path of fulfilling the PhD. Suddenly, the fellowship ending, he has a family to fend for. He doesn't know, he doesn't have a job. So it can get a bit challenging. Yes, I mean, one has to be very meticulous about this. That okay, if I'm going to get married during the PhD, I should have a plan and I should have a deadline. I should have a milestone to complete all my commitments in proper time. That's very important. I think a discipline is very important when you decide to get married during your PhD.
Wow, I'm expecting good out of you. So I mean, no, I mean it is there, but of course somebody has to provoke you to give the answer or give the talk about that issue, and how balanced it could be. Of course, at the end of the day, again, I would just like to just summarizing is that yeah, if you want to grow, because I am just 42 plus now, going to be 43, and now my son is the 14 years old. Had I not married by that time, so I have a good time to. I think that I can be, if God grace, enjoy grandfathership also.
Correct.
And so that progression of life, I always felt that when I should be 50, my son should be 20. That I wanted that equation,
That's
that
wonderful.
empirical
That's
relationship.
rather a bit early, I
I
would
wanted.
say, which is really good. Yes, yes.
Yeah, so
If
I
your
thought
son
that
is
maybe
20 by the
I
time you're
may
50, I think you're in a very good state. Yeah.
yeah, so
Mm.
I was thinking that that was my goal, and that's because no matter if I chose a career which will fruit me later, but my life should
Mm.
not stop. And that's why with that idea, with that essence,
You did
I
very
got
well.
married.
You did
And
everything very
yeah,
well, right? Yes. Mm-hmm.
because of I had
Mm-hmm.
mentors like you. But I would really say that you have to know that responsibility and discipline. So I cannot agree more that what you said, that if you take that challenge, understand that what are the disciplines or
It's all
responsibilities
about,
that you need.
owning the consequences. You know that what's going to happen, not that you don't know. So you have to
Hmm.
own that consequence. That if I do this, these are the possibilities that can happen, and I have to have a strategy about handling all of them. Because I have seen like many a time these QIP marriage scholars come now to do a PhD. They bring along their parents also, not only their immediate family, wife and children, but also their parents because they cannot leave behind their parents. Now that when you think of in a marriage scholar hostel in a small cramped two-room apartment, you have so many people and the parents are already ailing, half of the time you have to be worried about their health condition. It becomes pretty challenging. I understand sometimes people are compelled to do so, but I feel that when you do a PhD afterwards as a marriage scholar, ideally you should be free from as many worries possible. Because also getting back to school, doing coursework after a gap, also all those things become challenging. So you are very right that you have to be prepared. You have to be physically,
Hmm.
mentally,
So,
financially prepared. That's true.
and I had a chance to meet your better half, so I can say that it must have, you had the best time that the when PhD get tough, your life get best. So,
She has
so
been a
that
great
is the,
support, no doubt. Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes.
Uh, so certainly marriage has not been a big challenge. So my question is that with this we will move to the part B for sure. Uh, what was the biggest challenge so far at the age of what you are? The what has been the biggest challenge so far? If you want to put it like first, second, third, that it may be also. Otherwise, just one is enough.
Mm, not an easy question in a way, but because I have to see, I mean, everything is a challenge. So I would say that one is that, maintaining your continued credibility as a teacher, as a guide, also as an administrator, whatever given. Basically, having your self-esteem, your recognition, your credibility in place. I think that's a big challenge all the time. That you should be respected. So maintaining your respect is, I think, one of the biggest challenge continuously. Not only now, maybe in the past, maybe in the future. That whenever people take your name or remember you, it should be with a lot of reverence and respect. That you stand for whatever you are truthfully, and in terms of your conduct as a teacher, as a respected human being. And that's kind of a wholesome thing, I must say. Other than that, the other challenges, I mean, there could be a whole list of it, but you said three. One is also, keeping pace with as things are unfolding scientifically, technically, not disappointing your students, that you are always update, and they find that you are always giving them the most current kind of advice for the best of it, be it a typical class or be it your PhD or MTech student, that you are always update, and you are always well informed, and you are always guiding them rightly. Also sort of taking a whole care that they feel very secure that as long as I am with my professor, I am taken care of in all possible ways, including probably finding a right career for me. And of course, thirdly, I would say definitely the personal well-being, health-wise, both physical and mental, so that you are fit and you can deliver, you can inspire both your family, your student, the community at large, your neighborhood, the government who comes to you for help and solutions. So these are the things. I think it is all about living up to a sort of a expectation, not never going below a benchmark, always rather spiraling into the next level, growing yourself, and doing better each time in terms of your given responsibility. So I'll put this like that only. I
Actually,
mean, this is
what I would say is that I would just congratulate you. I would just want to congratulate you to put it such a beautifully, and I can tell you that. um I mean, I can understand the importance of keeping your bar or threshold or respect. I mean, this is the biggest challenge. You know, the other day I was looking at Tiger Woods documentary at Netflix or Sony Live. I don't remember exactly, but it was like when he was winning, a black young guy is becoming the world number one. Everybody was thinking that he is just a the Nelson Mandela, and the what happened is that just he could not keep it up, keep his human side, and I mean, he himself told that he thought that he is entitled to have some entertainment, some joy out of life. but that run him badly. But then he again pulled back. The Warriors pulled back. That is also good. So I mean, I feel like this effortless conversation is. I mean,
No, I'm just,
you have
one is,
you have
I
been
mean,
a.
whatever we know of each other, basically, uh, I should never fail you, or I should never fail anyone who has an expectation out of me. And along with age, other realization comes that sort of however much you try, you perhaps cannot change the world. You have limitations, so you have to let go somewhere and you have to accept as things are. Sometimes that also becomes very difficult because at a younger age, you feel that actually you can change the world, but then slowly you realize that certain things are simply to be accepted, and you should be happy with whatever you could achieve with your best possible efforts. So those are also in a way challenges as it comes along with time. Besides seeing your students and your own children being placed in their own way, but not having too much of expectation also. But I would still maintain that most importantly, one should not fail anyone. I should not fail my son as a father. I should not fail my student as a teacher. I should not fail my country as a citizen. I should not fail my profession as a professional. So, if you can do that, eventually, I would say life could be pretty simple. You should not really complicate things too much, and it should be easygoing life. That's, I think, at some point of time, more and more you start realizing, and it gives you a sort of a way of living life, little in a more peaceful and in a acceptable manner.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Actually, that is a also connecting to the part B. Part B, we are going to talk about philosophy. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what is it about science that interests you the most?
Okay, about science.
Hmm. I mean, of course, you have answered a certain bit that,
Hmm,
of course, it allows us. But what is actually, I would like to add it to it because
hmm,
your
hmm,
job is that what is
hmm.
your daily work motivation?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, to your first question, the science is something is very what you have. You have a proof. You have an evidence-based thing. You are not speculating. So that's a very good thing about science, and also that it is evolving. It's never static. It's never a as a true scientist. You never think that this is it. You always think there must be something more about it. So that's something fascinating about science, and that is never ending. That there is always something new to go for. So that way, science is fascinating. And today we know that everything is merged together. I mean, in medical science, for example, there is a science part of it, but there's also art of it. There's the art of engineering. So it's no longer distinguishable. But I would say that science also is a kind of a meeting point of so many disciplines together towards a database or evidence-based solution. So anyway, that answer is a unending answer. I think hundred of people will give
No.
hundred of different
You have
answers to that,
already
but that is how it
answered.
is to me.
Mhm.
And the second thing is that I'll not even say how I start my day. I would say how I end my day.
Mhm.
When I end my day, it's very interesting that when I return home, maybe quite late at evening, around 7, 8 o'clock from my office, I almost return home with the same energy and excitement like the way I go in the morning to my office. I come back to home thinking about that how still there are things left to be explored and discovered through whatever means, whether to the television or again sitting through a round of discussion with my children, and then so that pushes you to the next excitement of the next day. So when you sleep so excitedly at night to wake up in the morning, I'm sure you already have your hands full for the next day. So in that sense, every day is um, I mean, every day is such an adventure. And also, although you have a set plan that I'll go to my chamber, I'll do this first, I'll do my class, lot of unexpected, unforeseen, unanticipated things happen in between, and that amazes you. Knowing very well that there may be a cosmic design about everything that happens, there is a fate, there is a destiny, but there's still a lot of gifts and a lot of rewards keep coming unknowingly from the Supreme. This is something I guess I find every day as a new. Every day is so exciting. Every day is full of possibilities.
Wow. Actually, that brings me to the my next question is that you said about teaching. So what is your philosophy of teaching, and what is your message to become a good teacher?
Yeah, this is, as you know, is a question facing us all the time. How to become a better teacher each day. Today, people talk about flipped classroom, about so many other models of classroom teaching. As you know, right now, due to pandemic, we are doing an online teaching, and we're trying to make it effective. I would say I may not be the most correct person saying that, but uh, the most important part of teaching is to connect. As soon as you connect to your student, that I am together with you in this knowledge seeking exercise, and you build that rapport. He has a trust in you that you mean good to him in terms of making him a more knowledgeable person. Your half the battle is won. And then, many times you need not really teach in true sense. It is, as we all know today, it's like a joint learning. Let's seek this out. Let's learn this out. What do you feel about it? So every step there is a question, and there is a try, and there's an effort to resolve answer, which you tell your student, are you agreeable to this answer? Is this the way we should think about this particular knowledge, or do you have anything more? Because today's teaching, I think one need to recognize, and this keeps happening in the class. People sit with their smartphone also. So when you are perhaps mentioning, except for fundamentals and some of the classical stuff, you say something and your student messages are probably you need an update, that figure has changed to this. So he's more updated than you because he's into that subject and he's constantly following it, which is good. I think most important is in terms of teaching is to excite and motivate your students to seek out things, to learn. So if you can motivate them to learn, and if you can guide them where they will find what they're looking for, your teaching purpose is almost kind of resolved.
So I mean, the few of the things are. I mean, when I was coming and joining as a PEM, I mean the faculty, I went to one of my teachers at Japan and asked, "See, give me one message, something." So he said, one. I remember that yeah, my teacher told me that please don't try too hard. So go along. And it is
Flow.
very
We just
echoing with
flow.
your thing that the gradually and unless if you tell them that where to get this resource and what is this all about, and you introduce them with that maybe. So I mean that has been, this is
And
something
then
which we will.
telling them, that I mean, whenever you want, I am there. You can always get back to me.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you get into this knowledge-seeking, flow, start discovering things, and I'm sure there will be questions, there will be doubts, and I am there to, resolve them for you. So it's
Yes.
like, uh, I think it's a true sense. It's a mentoring only, right? That's true.
Okay. So
A lot
then
of self-learning is happening.
that and but if you think that several I mean several generations lived on this earth, planet earth, and few things are not being decoded. A person, the whatever I tell to my son, that look, 10th board exam is so critical, he will not understand. He will understand only after passing that phase. So
True.
experience is something, and that's why life has been interesting. Life has
Yes.
been mesmerizing. Life has been livable, in fact, because
Yes.
we are
Yes.
not unable to decipher them. Otherwise,
True.
it would have been not challenging or not interesting enough to live. So I would, so the teaching and those things, everybody has to do their own bit. They have to bring their own essentiality and taste and flavor. But of course, we can say something and we can pick up. If you think that Professor Mahanta's way is better, you can pick theirs. If you think Dr. Kumar is better or the look suits your nature, but be yourself. Be yourself is also a kind
Be
of
yourself is
the
important.
big message.
Yes.
How to keep a good research network? Is it necessary?
Of course, I mean, more than ever today, I think it is very important to maintain a network. And that network could be at different level. A network along with your, peer group is important, along with your student network is important, and also keep a track of who are the leading people in your field doing what. Instead of getting into a conflicting competition with them, if they become your partner, nothing like it. That okay, you are into this problem as well, and I have also a small group working. Can we join hands and try to find solutions together, do research together? So network is very important. Well, today because of I would say a career perspective or this whole personal perspective, people do networking for so many different purposes. Sometimes some network land up becoming, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. I think it is also getting into that sort of a situation, which are at some point detrimental to science. That should not happen. But a respectable, mutual, beneficial network is most essential in terms of sending out your student to a particular lab to spend some time and learn from them and come back, bringing them over to your lab. All are part of it. Besides, I'm sure there are a lot of advantages, because if you have a good network, your next publication lands up with a known network people, and it helps out. I'm not saying that he or she will be any biased about you, but even then, he knows that, okay, Dr. Kumar's group has come up with this new work. Let me, put some extra effort to do a good review of it, not a piecemeal review and send it back with a few cursory comments. So, as we all know, many times our publications become a very different quality just because the reviewers really get painstaking time into not only giving technical comments but also correcting even the language. So sometime when reviewed manuscript come back with the kind of rigorous comments, you feel so grateful, and probably it is possible that he or she is one of your network people having a lot of affection and respect for you. So a network can have lot positive benefits done the right way. Yes.
So, I mean, of course, I mean, now this world is, I think, sustaining based on network. I would say a village is a network, where a town is a network. And so similarly, but I really admire that you also didn't let ethics be not part of it. So when you said that something should not happen, I really again wish to congratulate you that you are
See, your
not
network,
leaving.
for example, Manish, the work you have left Tezpur and you are now in Gandhinagar, but you still have people in Assam to help you with your, for example, field work, sampling, because you are
Yeah.
still maintaining a network with some very different set of people who are not really academician, but maybe they are field laborers. But
Mm-hmm.
when they say, oh, this is Manish sir's work and let me come and help out. So this network can happen at so many different levels, and that's
Yeah.
very important. But I
Mm-hmm.
would still maintain, yes, ethics is very important. Like all the people you are engaging, I'm very aware that sometimes you, besides giving co-authorship of papers, to also maybe monetarily paying some of the field workers. All these are very important. That you give a recognition or a kind of a
Yeah,
due
yeah.
respect to those people. Yes, that's
And
very
let them
important.
feel that it is our work. That is my sometimes. The most important thing is that I always believe that how to make to feel that it is our work. And what should be the next thing is that related to this, because you talked about journal and like that. How you have been taking, like many students take it very, they do not figure it out how to choose a journal to support or to submit, and they are not taking rejections very healthy, or I mean, as a part of course, initial rejections and acceptance means a lot. For today, I do, even today it hurts if it is rejected, but how to judge is their own work and see that which journal should be the important. I would like to tell you before you answer is that whenever I bring my work to my professor, he would first ask me, what is the target journal? If so, look the work, but other approach can be that look at the work, tell me what target it is of. But he, as a assessment or as a reviewer or as a co-author, he wanted to know, look, what you are targeting at. That is very much important exercise. So I wanted to have your views on this.
See, the whole philosophical point is that a publication should happen because it needs to be published, because it's a good piece of work. People should know about it. It should take science one step further. Somebody should get inspired by this work, that oh, these people have already got this particular outcome and I can build on that the next level and all that. So a publication should always be a deserving publication. Now what has happened, the truth is that because it is added to or linked to our career progression, um, the publication itself often become an end in itself. So by hook or by crook, people just want to publish. Now, if you really have a good piece of original, primary work, and you have written it down properly with the necessary help from, colleagues and your supervisor, chances of rejection is actually very low. And also if you have identified the target journal where actually your kind of work is generally accommodated, um, there are times where, I myself say that a student have brought in a good meticulous work. I gave a lot of time because it excites me and edit it properly. And then it goes and it just gets accepted without even a review. So that also happened. On the other hand, the work itself was a little patchy. The writing part was not so good professionally. And when it comes to me from a student, I also find it to be not so exciting for myself because of all the topsy-turviness. I don't do a good editing also with full my heart, and it comes back with a rejection. So both of these kind of thing can happen. Unfortunately, today, because of the number game, some of the groups have become almost like journal producing factories. There are certain formats and people put things there, and it's just small piecemeal thing, and you expect that it should be published. I am aware of some of my international collaborators who sometimes take one whole year to write one journal paper out of a collaborative work we do. So that's very, very respected, because they often even don't want to put their name unless the journal has reached a certain quality. It's a ethical feeling that I would not like to assign my name into a paper where which have not passed to a certain degree of quality benchmark. But on the other hand, the extreme case oppositely, that left and right people are going for. So we know that journal publication for a young PhD scholar is a strategy. You have to think about that. What of my work will be publishable? How I put it across? What is that USP? At least some single USP has to be there. Then you have to do a lot of scouting about which journal is most likely to be appropriate for me. You do a bit of homework about the editors also. Go to their website and see that what kind of work they engage into. So it's a whole lot of preparation. But most of the time, rejection or this dissatisfaction or disappointment comes from the fact that without doing the required homework and the required rigority of the work, we, push a paper hoping that maybe it will somehow get through and get published, because I need a number. So these two extremes are now, playing its own role in the whole publication game. But I would say that after putting a best effort, getting a rejection is fine, and one can convince students, because he himself will know, that if he looks at the comment, oh, they're not so bad. They're all about improving this manuscript to resubmit or to give it to another journal, and he can understand. So it's a mixed bag. Again, I must say, you also know very well, because of
Yeah.
so many pressures, we'll end up doing all this thing. Yeah.
I do say that look, efficiency is one of the part that if we publish as a team, that everybody should contribute. Otherwise, and if it is contributing, then maybe somebody is good at graphical or making maps, and somebody is good at a statistical operation, somebody is good at interpretations. And so once we develop those skills in a team, and then we put them across like a factory, a handloom and a factory, the kind of the difference of the productivity can be there. And I have seen that happening, that in when I changed little bit recently, that when I put this in context, and I didn't say that, okay, that this is I started with the idea, because now my mind generates more ideas than them, because they are focusing on one aspect and something. So the last 2 years has been very productive, because the lot of time they can't say that I have to do lab work and those things. But slicing is not good. I mean, the slicing of the portions, if it is not completing, yeah, even Ramayana has a Sundarkand and those kans. But if it is making a complete story, and then only it should publish. But many times also I have done is that I had to ask them to separate the paper, because this is not a thesis where you need to, I have to see integration of the different problems. Many times it is like a short and crisp, and the many high impact journals are getting shorter and shorter. They say that, please tell me what you found and whether it is good enough, and makes a story, and add a brick to the known science and something. So if that is there, then many times I also ask them to separate the portion out of it, because if I go like this, but suddenly it has started a new branch which is not very well developed, so we should keep it for other time, or we have to develop it well enough and see that whether what kind of integration will help us. Just recently, because that is why just now, day before yesterday, I published in submarine groundwater discharge in Gujarat coast, where we took the sample every 5 kilometers. So just this morning, one of my colleague was telling that, wow, you have done so much data. Why didn't you submit it to Nature Communication? And I said that I want to submit those paper with integration. Right now, I am setting the light on a specific problems. And so this paper I published with just one intention, that this work was that how to know the submarine groundwater discharge or intrusion, both saltwater intrusion, based on only field parameter, because nowadays multiple parameter can measure 7 parameters or 6 parameters of very high importance: ORP, pH, salinity, chloride, and many things. Even chlorophyll can be measured, and then sea surface temperature can be measured just sitting on the computer. And so similarly, I just said that how about let people know that we can have the preliminary investigation just based on the groundwater fluctuation. Where is the groundwater fluctuation, water quality data, and surface temperature fluctuation? So just based on 3 fluctuation, can we tell something about these 2 important process? I didn't analyze major ion, I didn't analyze isotopes, which radon or resistivity survey and those things. Those things will come. But this one, I wanted to say that sometimes if problem is at hand, even preliminary investigations can be the key. so that's what is the point, that the student has to understand what story they have, whether they have a story or not. If they have a short story, they can tell. There is a short communication. If they have a something to communicate to editor, they can do. There are several classes of the publications, but they need to know their stories, their characters. That is what I feel. Of course, I go a lot of those aspects.
No,
Okay,
you
so
are
now,
right. I think, yeah, one single novelty at least is very, very important. Some novelty has to be there, even a short communication, right? It's possible.
mhm. So this is just, I mean, now you as a examiner, because you also make fit by selecting people or by like that. So this is that what things you see in a CV and or what in a person before saying yes for a PhD position or higher, because you must be faculty recruitment also and like that. So what are your criteria, or what is you evaluate people?
Selecting a PhD student or a entry-level teaching position,
Yeah,
what
both, both,
exactly?
both, both, both. I
Both.
asked. You can answer separately.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah. PhD application, well, you all know, we definitely look at the basic qualification, that how had been the academic track record. That's a kind of a qualifier, if you can call it. But more importantly, nowadays, we always ask for a SOP. So two things we look at. One, that a PhD student generally comes after a master's degree. So the master dissertation, again, with all the realization that a master dissertation is a master dissertation, a PhD is a PhD. We don't want somebody to really jump the queue. So whether his BTech report or MTech report, we look at that level, and has he kind of got into a knack of research. We all know masters, we do not really look for primary data, even secondary data is good enough. But if he has developed a good analytical methodology or approach, that he has a kind of a scientific way of seeking answer to questions, that become an important criteria. And then definitely the statement of purpose, we see that has he picked up or has she picked up a little, odd novel problem than just the usual stuff. I must say that nowadays many applications are very disappointing, as I already maintained, because many students would like to stray into PhD, as a stopgap, and so they do not really put their heart into it. And there is a whole lot of problem of plagiarism and all that. But I guess we still have a way that at the time of cross questioning, one can really screen out the best PhD student. If you have a certain number of seats and you have a certain number of applicants, sometime one or two people get through just by chance, because they sort of show a promise. There are instances in the past we have found that we regret saying that, oh, we picked up a wrong person. He should not or she should not have been into the PhD. It becomes a problem. Rarely though, generally our mechanism helps us to screen out. So this is the thing. I think basic qualification, then somewhere, a way of knowing that he or she is opting for this PhD with a lot of interest. It is not just kind of there's nothing else to do. So as of now in the pandemic, this is happening a lot. Our number of PhD applications has gone up kind of fivefold, tenfold, and it's a Herculean task. Some departments are doing a rapid fire to, eliminate as many candidates possible. We are not doing that. Like in my department, I think this round PhD, we had about 700 interviews, over 3, 4, 5 days. So, and then with different panels. So,
Mhm.
if you put that sort of a rigor and mechanism of, having them engage over a little longer period of time, I believe that you can really find out who is really suitable for a PhD for a particular topic. And for academic position, as you all know, we look for definitely good credential again, and then what he is currently doing, which laboratory, with whom he was working, and again possibly to a emerging field which is not being right now pursued by our department or the center wherever we are. We try to fill gaps. We don't try to bring people where already people are working upon. Except sometime, even in known areas also, there are people who are doing impeccably superior level of research. So that becomes a rider. And then, of course, that we do look at communication skill. So in our selection process, which is going to happen soon, we look for, one is a classroom situation delivery. So our chosen topic from a textbook is to be communicated, treating the audience as a class. Secondly, the highlight of a research right now happening. And thirdly, of course, a whole lot of cross question, particularly focusing on fundamentals and some of the classic stuff, which is essential to be delivered to early students. That is something not compromisable. Research area apart. So I'm not sure if I have really a very good answer to your question. I'm sure there may be some amount of subjectivity to people, but this is how I see it, Manish.
No, no, no. I think you have given a quite the answer that is, and very, how to say, the not complex one. The beauty about your answering is that it has been really very, very clear. I mean, not complex. So as an administrator, here there is a two-way question. One is that how to keep good with administrators and how to be a good administrator. So both aspects, because I know that you have been in both sides of the table.
Yeah, well, we all have to perform duties. I have also performed duties as head, as dean, and all that. And I must tell you, these are all learning lessons. The governance is something that you learn on the job as well, and you become better for the next round of doing things. So I guess one is, of course, very important is to respect every team member of yours with due respect for their position, be it an attendant, be it your associate dean or whoever, and also being very, very caring to be someone that they can fall back to in their distress, and also taking all responsibilities for their fault or for their shortcomings. As you go ahead in life, in career, otherwise, what perhaps challenges you most is that the realization that you still don't know so many things, be it governance, be it in your academic also. And in fact, one of the regrets, if you ask me, is that I feel that why not I continue learning Sanskrit more? Why did not I study history more? Because that time, after sixth standard, by the time you go to eighth standard, you have to leave behind a lot of subjects. You can choose only advanced science, advanced maths, but I leave behind geography, history, and all that, Sanskrit and all. Today, knowing that every problem had so many dimensions, including sociological and other, you regret that while studying science, somewhere we left behind economics, we left behind sociology, we left behind history and geography. So that's a deep regret, because although our academic system doesn't allow, and also as a human being, it's not possible to do every bit of it. But you do realize, I land up in a tourist place, and I feel that, oh, I should have been an archaeologist to appreciate this place in a better manner. So I think administration is also something similar, that many people believe that an academician sometimes do not perform well or even fail as an administrator. But it's, I guess, about a lot about your basic philosophy of respecting your fellow human beings in their own merit, in their own right, and that touches people. That gives you a sort of a different support system. Your subordinates can actually die for you if they know that you can die for them. So it's a synergy. It's a kind of a very myriad kind of a connection and sort of a networking. Again, as you said, if you are an administrator, within your office system, which maybe 1 or 2 dozen of your staff, you need a very good network, And today's world, as you know, you are out of your office, but your WhatsApp, your social media is buzzing every time because your staff is alerting you, sir, something emergency has happened, this has happened, what is your advice, how do I handle? So I guess as an administrator, what I learned was, in fact, after I left my administrative position, the good part is that many of my junior colleagues have remained lifelong friends. So I realized that they love me, irrespective of my position, which is now gone. And that perhaps somewhere I feel is a huge satisfaction that it was not never about that just because I was their boss and they respected me. So that human connection at each level, I think, is very important. And who knows better than today that in corporate, the CEO have to actually pose for a selfie with his driver because he is also equal important cog and wheel in the system. So that's how I read it. Of course, there are so many other, you can read about hundreds of books on governance systems and all, what you should do, what you should not do. But basic human lessons are very, very important.
Yeah, actually, that part shows that why you have been a popular administrator at IIT Guwahati. But I want to also understand, and I can tell you is that here, if I would just say that I would like to, because my professor, my boss at in PhD, he used to say, "See, you are a junior researcher, I am a senior researcher. So I am that kind of relationship." So, so I have very few experience of administrators because my work is of not that nature. But still, I would like to point out or bring out the Professor MKC, the MK Chaudhary's way of administration. And there, I think most of the thing that you have said is important. Of course, we are going to have a compulsion also. That has also been highlighted by you that of in terms of CEO and driver selfie. But at least you also said that we have to have compassion, empathy. We have to have understanding. And it goes also well with that this World Cup team winning. They say that you are as good as your team. So, and if there is if you die for somebody, he will be also willing to do so. But administration comes with power, and the power is very, the toxic, and they can make you vulnerable to lose your sight and becomes ruthless and becomes very, that. But I know that you have a very long experience of being administrator, and why you could do well is now I can understand it. At the same time, you may get how to say something like pray for a bad administration. At that time, what you will do, and what is your advice to handle those conflict with the administration within the lab? And as a like a person that you have several conflicts, troubleshooting you must be doing as a administrator, as a lab head. So that I wanted to know. Why I named Professor Mirkanti Chaudhary is that he has been really, he believed in punishing, but he believed maintaining the punishment amount, that it should not surpass the certain limit. He used to give love, affection, and he used to scold also. My professor also used to do that. He once he scolded me in front of everybody. Then he called me in my office and told that, see, if anybody has to scold in that room to you, who must be the best person for you, whom you will choose. So I said you. So that's why I scold. Don't take it otherwise. So tell me your views.
Yeah, what I would say that eventually, you have to judge based at how you accomplish your objective. If you want to reform a person that he has made a mistake, you see a chance that he can recover and do better with even certain amount of respect, you should do that. if there is a need of a punishment or a coercion as per the rules, I think going by the rules is very important because nobody then challenges you. So you say that I am fine as an individual, as a human being, but this is the rule that says as far as this particular offense is concerned, so that follows. Then also nobody will hold a grudge. What perhaps affects people is that if you humiliate people publicly, if somebody does a wrong thing, if you call him individually and tell him in a no unclear terms that this is the punishment for this particular slip or mistake, he accepts that. But most of the time, when you are powerful, you are right that people forget, and people, pull up people publicly and insult him, and that I'm sure people, nobody really likes to, even if he is wrong, So I have seen that actually, to be truthful, power should make you humble. If you are
Yeah.
humbler with
Very.
power, you are more effective. People know that you have power, but you are still being humble, and you are still being, trying to rather, reach the objective of a good governance system, not victimizing or pinpointing individually. It makes a lot of difference. As soon as the person or his colleagues will find that you are looking at a systemic improvement or a reform, not targeting an individual, the whole message is very different. So I have found that if you go by a system through a committee, investigate it properly, give them chance to let their voice being heard, and after that you give a very, very ethically correct judgment, and you say that this would have applied to me even if I would have been you, people do understand. But I have seen, yes, people becoming very isolated and cornered, those who sort of abused and misused power when they were powerful. This is a very, very, very wrong trap people get into, that when you are holding a temporary position for a couple of years for a administrative responsibility, you behave very high-handedly. I have seen it backfiring enormously. You lose everything. When it is gone, you lose even your original respect also.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
actually, it's a test. It's actually a test. When you are given a responsibility or a powerful position, you must realize that immediately you are into a great test, and you have to really pass through that. So it helps. And well, my experience have been like that. That even if I had to take firm decisions, unpleasant decisions also, it never backfired because it was very clear. You should be very transparent ethically, and you should explain that why this has to be done. Even with students, I have been a dean of students affairs for 3 years, and today also all the people I came across, I have no misgiving by anybody, although I had to handle them at different level at different times.
I know
Yeah.
you for a long time. I mean, the since 20 years, I guess, since 2000, for 20 years. But I am still today. You appear to me very. I mean, the complete package, because I didn't ask you, and I cannot dare to ask a few things, and but I know that from where it comes, and that kind of sortedness give you, because one of the point that you have mentioned is that giving right opportunity, ample opportunity to explain their side, explain
True.
their,
Very
give
important.
the, even in the Indian law, you have to give a provided ample opportunity to let the other side explain their and listen without prejudice, and listen to the,
Totally.
yeah, and
Discrimination is something very, very detrimental. No
hmm,
discrimination should happen by caste, creed, position. He may be a junior guy. He may have something to say. You must give him a voice. It's very, in fact, it is more important to give it to the disadvantaged because he's already kind of a little low. He already have a feeling that I'll not be heard properly. So he should be given that confidence. That's very, very
and
important.
I don't know why, because you spoke with such a person that I just remember this Munshi Premchand, this panchayat that he made his friend,
Yeah.
and he as soon as he took a position, he felt that it is a test for him. I mean, that's what you put it, and so
Actually,
nicely.
in today's context, I feel being neutral is not enough. In fact, in the unequal situation, you should always take a little side of the disadvantage because he needs support. If you
Wow.
remain totally neutral, the powerful will always hijack the system. That's very important. So sometimes you really have to take side in an implicit way. This is very
Wow.
important.
This is
Otherwise, when you say, no, no,
Professor.
no, you are the administrator, you have to be totally neutral. Totally neutral. This poor fellow, he's already scaled down to such a level. He doesn't even have a voice. Now, unless you speak for him, he doesn't have a voice. It's very important
Yeah,
today
I
to
mean,
take side.
this is Professor Mahanta unplugged. I am sorry for that. I don't know that even
Not really. My
your water.
point is, Manish, I think we all have our own models. So as long as say, your model
No,
is working
at
fine,
least you are
you should
not
have a trust
keeping.
in your model. There's no
You are.
point of imbibing or looking at any other model, although it is being proven by business gurus or somebody. So that's important.
So my point is that at least you are not. I mean, many holding yourself or diplomat. You are speaking your mind. That is the amazing to
True.
me. That is many time, and I feel that you should be a bigger administrator. I mean, this is many institutes are there in Northeast, and probably you would have been a very nice head of some of them. So let me know a little bit about the you more in the other side. Like, what do you do when you are not working?
The first thing is that you're always working, even when you are doing recreation, also you are working. So
Mhm.
sometimes people appreciate my photograph. They said it's a lovely photograph. And I sometimes, feel a little self-pity that you don't even know that I had to sweat for 3 hours to take that one single image, which you are appreciating sitting in your comfortable room.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
every piece of work actually goes. So even sometimes something which is looks like a recreation. Maybe people feel today you have a lot of advanced cameras and you go to the wild and you just shoot and you get a beautiful bird picture. It's not as simple. Even when I take a picture through my window, also it's a long wait sometime to the right
I
moment.
can
That's
I
the
can
yeah.
specifically, although I didn't tell you, but there was a picture of yours putting the net in the river
Mm,
on a boat.
mm,
You know
mm,
that I told the few people that catching that moment cannot be simple. Matlab,
mm,
because if you do that one, like I used to say, king respect king, or if you are a researcher, you can respect the researcher, and that's why I started this blog or this podcast because I know that what goes into that. I have been on that journey. I can know that the nuances. So I told that that particular moment must have had very, very tough. And I know that that photographer wanted that very step, that very moment. It's not like ये डाल दिया, ऐसा नहीं है. And that's why many times I happen to see and comment on your pictures on social media. But yeah,
I mean,
and those were
finally,
amazing.
it's about quality. When even if you go for a holiday, also there's a quality. So, in a way, you are never idle. I understand your question that you asked that when you are not working in your professional engagement, what you
Yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah.
But essentially, your mind or your whole the receptiveness is always working, even when you are looking out through a window or sitting with you and discussing. So I do well, and as a typical life of a academician, I have my own bit of morning walk and cycling. And now I must tell you that it's not simply a walk or a cycling. What I do is that unlike people, fellow walkers having the earplug in their ear and listening to music while walking, I walk through nature and listening to every sound that nature offers, be it a dragonfly, be it a, whatever. So morning when you go around, and it's not also constant walking or constant cycling. You stop, you look at things, you get down, you crouch yourself. So that makes a whole total kind of a sort of meditative engagement. And this is very important for us, I think, to have that sort of a breakaway that At that point of time, you are not for many of the other things in your mind. Although I do recognize that sometimes even during that time also some very fertile thoughts do come to mind. So I like traveling. I do photography. I like people a lot. I go to the villages. I spend time. I like children. I sometimes go to a painting school and spend hours with the young children there. I mean, life is varied. I like reading also, and sometimes simply watching a movie. I mean, it's all diverse, and that's why the life is full of spices. As long as it's something exciting, something that you get some positive vibe out of, it all works fine. I
Wow.
I
Uh,
rarely help in cooking and all, but sometimes I do that also. Yes, which you all
yeah,
do,
I know.
I'm sure.
Yeah, actually, this is no, no, no. I know that this is also my observation about Northeast people, as I mean, the per se, is that they have more extracurricular. I should not generalize, but at least in my part of the land, we are very much focused on the study, and if not, then we will go for sports, but study sports, and if not, then politics. But but in Northeast, politics comes
often,
very at the end, and
often it is by
music.
compulsion. But in the Northeast, as you rightly said, people have ample scope of being lazy and being, extra time to do things. And somehow they are culturally very endowed, as you might have witnessed. So they have a better quality of life, I must say. Even generally speaking, going half the globe also, I have seen that, people in Assam are really privileged. People in Northeast are really having their life, a complete life.
And
That's
there, I want to tell that you said that they have time to pursue the hobby, but I would say that life is all about making time, the taking time out, the allotting time. I mean, if you even in a wild, you can remain too busy, too noisy in your head. But if you amidst of everything, like in Tokyo, in my 3.5 years as a student, my father says, when you had so much time to go for this place, that place, take picture, do PhD, and I become father there. And so, how did you do that? Everything. So just because I take time out, I never sit idle, and
it's about
those things.
attitude. Yes,
Mm.
yes, yes.
So I think that is there, and it's nice. And I want my children to pursue music because this music and food and these things are very connected to us. No? Okay, I didn't tell you that this part C is called being human, and so
Being
here we would like being human.
okay,
So
being
this is so that's why I would like to ask your three major strengths as per you.
measure strength.
Hmm. And something you are not good at.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Uh, Something I'm not good at, I can tell you right away. I'm a bit super sensitive, so I get a little goofed up by people's behavior. If I find somebody a little
Ah,
insensitive, it hits me a little more than usual. Some people, just kind of shrug off. Okay, oh,
yeah,
maybe
very
he's like
thick
that.
skin.
But yeah, but I am a bit super sensitive about human behavior, so I lose respect to people sometimes because of, even if he's a very otherwise a very accomplished person. So that is a, I think in today's context is basically a drawback, because you should know how to adapt to situation a bit diplomatically. Otherwise, survival becomes difficult. You cannot be so touchy every time. So that is something as a trait, maybe because we are brought up in a very caring, comfortable life, so we become a bit, sensitive. Anyway, strength, as you can tell, what I don't know. Maybe strength is like one is of course acceptance of the reality around you and kind of let go. Don't fight it too much. That is there. It comes with a little bit of age and wisdom. You stop being too aggressive about everything.
Mhm.
Then the strength could be what? trust in, trust in the supreme and kind of believing. I mean, this is again back to back almost the same thing. So um, and also being a little unmoved under situation. Although I'm super sensitive when it comes to a serious situation in terms of involving decision making, many people believe that I keep my cool well. I don't lose my temper as such. Even if I feel agitated inside, I don't express it. So often I am being called by people to even sometimes do meditating also in terms of some people into conflict and all that. So these are a few traits. Again, as you rightly said, God given. Maybe that is how we are shaped. So it's with me, and I don't regret that. It's
Yeah.
like that.
So I mean, can you summarize then just 3 points? You said weakness. You said super sensitive, and actually, again, I am sharing that to you. And that's why I had a, though I don't know whether you know that I am sensitive too much. I need hits me more than usual.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so
It's
strength
more
wise, you
like you
said,
can say what you call resilience, no, emotional resilience, maybe that you can put
Mhm.
it in a right word, that you don't get too much worked up by whatever. I mean, you don't lose your temper too quickly.
Yeah. So your most favorite author,
Most
if
favorite what?
you author,
Most favorite
author, novelist or
author,
any
author,
author or yeah.
author. Very difficult actually, because as I told you, I read through vernacular literature to Hindi to Bangla and all that. So pinpoint one author is impossible, but it is easier for me to, for example, cite names like Rabindranath Tagore or Vibhuti Bhushan Bandyopadhyay, because they wrote about villages, about simple people, about nature. So in that sense, you can say, some of them, some of the leading authors. I cannot name, Assamese author because they may not be very familiar. But yes, I have some. Uh, I think we have a film director, come short story writer. He was a professor of physics also, Professor Rabindranath Saikia, and he won a couple of national awards for many of his movies. And his stories, I feel, should be translated to all languages globally. Similarly, there was
Wow.
another story writer called Saurabh Kumar Saliha. It's a nickname actually. His original name is different. He is, level of anyone, Gorky or Dostoevsky or whoever, but never translated. So I feel sometimes like Munshi Premchand. You see, um, those who know, they know, but many, maybe some Spanish or some French will never know what Munshi Premchand is all
Yeah,
about.
yeah, but
So
actually that is what I am saying is that like irrespective of anything, we should look the this India can be a Europe and Assam can be a country. I mean, if in that context we are talking about. So
right,
and it's India is like that because Assam has a different language, like Spain, like France. So similarly, the so that's why we must promote and our local brains, and that's why this is I vocal about the local slogan is really very nice, goes to me. But I can you have named it, you said that the situation, but at least you also named it, your favorite food.
again, very difficult, but I would again keep it that some of the local indigenous Northeast or Assamese cuisine, they are very simple. Uh,
Okay, sweet or hot? Do you, are you a
uh,
sweet tooth or you're a spicy guy?
No, I'm not spicy at all. And yeah, if you know, Manish, already that in the Northeast, because of our proximity to the Orientalness, we have a lot of bland food, but within that, they're very tasty, herbs and all that. So I like those kind of stuff, very simple kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay,
As you
and
know, as an
so fish.
Assamese, even the fish and all that small fish and those things, you know about the fish being put into a bamboo chamber and then burnt in the fire. Those kind of
Horeca,
dishes are
yeah.
very
Hmm.
exotic, very exotic. Yeah,
Hmm.
because you don't keep eating them
Oh,
regularly. That's why. Yeah.
Okay, your favorite drink. You can say even brand if you want.
I can easily say that maybe something like green apple mojito or something because that's easier. I really don't go for any hard drink. Yeah, anything is fine. Yeah,
uh,
but my favorite is actually again the lemon sherbet you get in Assam in summer. The fresh
yeah,
lemon, that
yeah,
is
yeah, yes,
something
yes.
fantastic. Yeah,
Oh,
no doubt about it.
you
Very refreshing.
you touch
Yeah.
the memories. So, and your favorite possession? I mean,
Favorite
anything that you
position?
adore. Yeah,
Okay.
maybe your camera
Again,
or maybe.
difficult, but definitely my camera, of course, because I that's a
And what is
creative
his
medium for
model?
me.
What is its model?
What?
I mean, the model,
Yeah, yeah.
the
I
camera
use
that
this.
you.
I use Nikon and D. I had a D full frame 750. Now lately, I am using what you call this noiseless or what they call it. This a Sony Alpha One. I have just got a new one. That's the best range of camera in Sony. So I
Okay,
use that one also. Yeah.
okay. Book, favorite book. Although I should have asked after author, yeah, before one, but I picked
Our
a
books
mixed
are all
bag.
textbooks only. I already said author, so similarly book also. There are many. There are many. There are
Just
many.
one,
The
any
context.
standout that you okay, that book I liked, or that
Uh, there are
not
many.
as
Like
such, not
okay,
not
one
as
can
such.
easily
Okay,
say Amrita Pritam's this one Mahanta is
Nelly.
a very good book. Yeah. Right.
Okay, what book can you say again? Amrita
No,
Pritam's.
there is a it's written in, I think, in Bangla, but it's not translated. I hope I got the author correct. I think it is Mahashweta Devi. Na
Mm-hmm.
Hannate.
Nah, okay. What about? Do you watch movie?
I work,
Do you watch movies?
watch movies.
Huh?
Yeah, yeah. That is now
Okay,
almost
so
mandatory because
your
it's coming.
favorite movie and your favorite actors and director. That's all. Finish.
Actually, I should name some national or international names, but as I said
No,
again,
no, no need,
these
no need, no
lovely
need. Actually,
movies.
that see, I want you to being yourself, and that is what I am saying
Right,
is that
right.
generally I also moved when I was in Assam. I was thinking and I was surfing more about Assam. So it says that you like something that says that you dwell that. Yeah. Tell me
Right.
your
So when
favorite.
you look at movies, for example, I did a film appreciation course. I watched those Battleship Potemkin, Bicycle Thief, and those kind of stuff, which are absolutely, classic movies. And anytime you'll say they are our favorite. Similarly, I watched movies by Akira Kurosawa, all of them. They're all fascinating movies. But I have also watched movies like Aribam Shyam Sharma. He's a Manipuri director, like Imagining Them. He got a national award for Imagining Them. It's a very, you can say, low technology movie, black and white, but the story is so powerful. I suggest sometimes you see Imagining Them. And he won a couple of more awards also later on, Aribam Shyam Sharma. So I like those movies also. They are as good as Akira Kurosawa's movies. The Akira Kurosawa is a very large landscape, and technically they are very different.
Yeah,
So there are a range
at
of
that
movies.
time it was
I like Satyajit Ray. I like, I mean, so many of them, right? All these people.
actor, actor,
Again, very
actors. It
difficult.
means male and female.
Yeah, I understand. It keeps changing. I like the new generation actor, actresses also as they are coming up. So, very difficult. So, I can't even say
Very difficult
Amitabh Bachchan is my favorite actor, because
because of his height.
anyways,
He has you share a kind of the tallness with
I
him. So
know. But
did you like him?
no, I like him. I think he's good at what he does. Yeah, yeah. So, when you look at an actor just for his acting part of it, is one kind of liking. When you think about the person as a whole, it could be another kind of liking.
No, just
When you
acting.
say,
Just.
do you like which actor you like, you generally you answer that, okay, so and so in this movie, so and so in that movie.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Like that.
So give me that
Somebody may
sense.
say, okay, Manoj Bajpayee in Family Man. So right now, maybe people may
Yeah.
say, it's like that. Yes.
So now, what is your, if I would say, the best trip in the past and any bucket list for future?
Or the travel tip.
Yeah, yeah. Any trip in the past that you recall, and any bucket list?
So again, I mean, if you call me, I may like a trip to Majuli or Kaziranga in Assam itself, or to Junoboto in Nagaland. On the other hand, I may also cite my visit to Alaska, to all the northern lights. So it's a whole range, and everything gave me a sort of a goosebump at different times, depending on the context. So
No, and travel has been, that asking that tell me your favorite is. But if I would have not asked, I would have not known that okay, that is all the you've been places and
there are
like
very,
that.
very interesting
Yeah.
story. I
So
like
so
Denali
this is.
Park. I went
Hmm.
to this Denali Park in Alaska, where all these basaltic black rocks are covered with this white snow and the ice, and they're melting, and you can see all those icebergs also falling. And as people working on climate change, I'm sure these are very interesting, mind-boggling sights for us, no doubt. As a traveler, I believe that being academician probably. Something I tell my students that our travel, our fiction and other reading, our movies also should be as far as possible connected to our primary interest. So if I watch a couple of movies, maybe I should watch on natural disaster, on climate change, on stuff like that. If I read books, maybe I should read Inconvenient Truth first time. So I'm just trying to say that one can find a lot of interesting stuff even within our academic domain also, which are of non-academic nature. So probably one should travel to Iceland to see the whole, or to Hawaii to look at the volcanic eruption and stuff like that, instead of simply going to exotic place and just having a relaxing holiday, right?
So this is. I mean, what is your favorite quote? Any quote that you like? For me, if you would say that one time, the Vivekanand, I was reading that he said that you गुण ग्राहकता का विकास बिना प्रोत्साहन के नहीं हो सकता, यानी कि without inspiration you cannot improve the quality of a
Mm.
or the receiving ability of someone. So you have to praise for that. That has been a good guideline in since my childhood. But of course, there had been many after, but this is not my interview. So you tell me that any such quote or any mantra that you have been.
Mm. I don't recall anything that I can tell you right away. But see, as a photographer, for example, I appreciate the photographs of Henri Cartier-Bresson, and his philosophy is kind of what he called decisive moment photography. So what he says that when you take a photograph, you have one single decisive moment which never happened before or after, and he's talking about times when these were you didn't have this kind of very fast photography that you take 16 frame per second, so you always can capture one of those seconds, one of the fraction of the seconds. He used to have a very many ordinary camera, and he used to wait for a particular moment which is not before, not after. So I extend it to think that in life also there is always this sort of a decisive moment, which is like defines everything, not before, not after, and we should go about it.
Wow. Okay, here is the end. Now, before I close the recording, at least, please tell me if you were not an academician, what you would have been. And I still don't know that any bucket list for you. I mean, in future, any wish that you want to pursue, one or two. That I mean, Yeah, I have done anything, so everything, but this one I wish I want to fulfill. So that is what is the bucket list, and what you would have been if not academician. Of course, I know maybe a photographer or maybe a singer, but yeah, please.
Yeah, I mean, these thoughts, I'm sure, pass through everybody's mind at some point of time in the life. So, on one hand, I feel that probably being a simple school teacher in a tribal village in Arunachal with a lot of innocent children would have been a wonderful thing. So, you're shaping those minds absolutely from scratch, you know. That's one way of looking at life, and it's a very simple way of looking at life that you also have a very peaceful kind of a engagement. The other thing, as you said, maybe I can easily say that I would have loved to become a Discovery Channel or National Geographic photographer, where you get a $1 million project every time and go to the African forest and document macaws sitting up there atop the hill. It's a whole range again. I mean, given the chance, but I must tell you, in the passing, one thing fascinated me in the early life was to become a bookseller, because I used to buy books from a bookseller, fiction and other, at my young age, and I used to save money every time to buy those small kiddie books, small story books. And I used to envy that bookseller. I thought, my God, this guy is sitting inside all these books and he can read as many of them without spending a single penny. So I told many people that when I grow up, I will simply become a bookseller, because I can, except for selling a few books here and there,
Wow.
all the other time I'm sitting and picking up one after another book and I just read them. So I actually wanted to become a bookseller till a point of time. Yes.
I was thinking that this is a very routine question, but what an interesting answer. I really loved it. Okay, so your any bucket list with that we will just say amen to your list, and
My
we
bye-bye
will.
is over now.
So, what is your bucket list? That anything that you wish to do in
Uh,
next 5 years
well,
or 10
write a
years?
book, definitely.
Ah,
Maybe make a
okay,
movie also, if possible. Yeah.
good. See,
Mm.
please keep me associated with your movie, if not book. So
Mhm.
that is the one. Thank you so very much.
All the best. Take care.
All the best, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.